Hello everyone and welcome to this webinar on Testprep By InsdideIIM. I hope your preparations are in full swing and they are just about to get better as today I have brought 200 percentilers to share their strategies with you all. We have Soham who is a 100 percentile, who got a 100 percentile in CAT 21 and as well as in the DILR section. And we have Sarthak who is a VARC 100 percentiler and had a 99.93 percentile in CAT 21. So all your queries are going to be resolved today. So do shoot them in the chat. So welcome Soham and Sarthak. Please introduce yourself to the audience.
All right, I can go first. So,
Yeah.
Hey, hi everyone. My name is Sarthak Gupta. I'm currently a fresher at FMS Delhi, before which I had 18 months of work ex in my family business. I graduated from Bispilani in 2020 in chemical engineering. And as you can guess from my VRC percentile, I like to read books. So, yeah, that's me.
Great. Soham.
Okay. Hi, I am Soham Katkar. I am from Mumbai and currently I am studying in IIM Calcutta. I am a fresher. I am an engineer. No work ex. So yeah, and that's about it.
Great. So to start with, please tell when did you start your preparation? What was your strong and weak sections?
Okay, I'll go first. So yeah, so this was actually my second attempt of CAT. I had given CAT in 2020 as well, and in that year I could not score well in VARC particularly. I hope I had met Sarthak earlier. So, but yeah, so this year I worked on VARC. That was my weak section, and Quants and DILR were always my strong sections. So yeah, that's it. Sarthak.
Sure. Okay, so my story, matches yours in the sense that this was also my second attempt at CAT. During my first attempt, I got a 60 percentile in DILR, so a similar comment back to you about having met you earlier. Actually, I'm in touch with one of your batchmates as well, Ashish Yadav. He's a fellow 100 percentile in DILR. I think you know that. So, in the beginning, I knew that my VARC was strong, that I can read a passage fairly quickly and understand what's going on inside the country. And so we'll expand on that a bit more about how to attune yourself in reading passages intuitively, but then later how structure becomes really important while going through, particularly an RC more than the VA questions. Yeah.
Great. So we have these two panelists who are strong in basically all the sections. So you can shoot in all your queries and they'll be resolved today. So now my next question to you would be that so what was your strategy for the last 2 months? Because that's what's the time remaining right now. So can you share what can be the strategy for the aspirants giving CAT 2022?
Okay. So for me, my entire preparation was basically mock tests. You know, I focused on mock tests all the time. I gave around during my first attempt, I gave around 30 mocks in the last 1 month. So yeah, my strategy was based around mock test. Startup.
Very, very similar. So, starting September is when I got serious about taking mocks regularly. At the minimum, I took one mock every week, and when October started, actually mid-October to be very honest, is when I started taking mocks on both the days of the weekends, both Saturday and Sunday. More importantly, however, this is the moment, this is the time at which I gave utmost importance to analyzing my mocks. What was, if there was any mock in which I had slipped from my previous scores, what went wrong? Are the type of questions a bit more different than what I'm currently used to? Did I lose touch with the topic which I had gotten in good touch with earlier? So based on the performance of my mock on my Sunday, all of my next week was planned on either correcting a weakness or covering up topics that I believed I could get stronger in. So yeah, that was my strategy for the 2 months.
So how much time were you able to dedicate in the last 2 months?
So I was a fresher, so I did not have any time restriction as such. So yeah, but around 4 to 5 hours a day. I'm talking about my first attempt. Around 4 to 5 hours a day used to be my study schedule. During the second attempt, I did not spend a lot of time because I just had to work on one section rather than the entire paper.
Oh.
So yeah, Sarthak.
Yeah. So I started preparing for CAT again in June 2021, and after my attempt in 2020. Uh, at that time, I was freewheeling. I did not have a schedule as such that these many marks I'll give. I was simply trying to get in touch with the QA syllabus first because I believe that is the most straightforward section to get done with earlier. And then till September, it was mostly a few mocks here and there and with some prep. Starting September, however, I started regularly giving about, like, through the whole week, 20 hours, which was 2 hours during the weekdays, and 8 hours on my Sunday. So 6 into 2, 12, and then 8 hours on Sunday, which makes 20. So yeah, not 4 to 5 hours every day, but roughly 2 to 3 hours. Yeah, that was my strategy.
Okay. So a lot of aspirants have this question that if they have not yet completed the syllabus, so what is that area that they should focus on right now, because only 2 months are there and they possibly might not be able to cover everything. So what would you suggest them?
So as Sarthak mentioned, that analyzing mocks is as important as giving mocks, in my opinion. So now, if people are feeling that the syllabus is not complete and they are feeling the time crunch, I would advise them that every time you give a mock, analyze it well. After you analyze, 3 to 4 mock tests of your own, you will find out a pattern in your mistakes. And once you find out that pattern, that you're repeating certain mistakes, you can focus on those topics particularly rather than, you know, because there is always a pattern in the mistakes. You keep making the same mistakes again and again, and that is what you want to avoid in the final exams. So, Sarthak, you want to add anything?
Yeah, I'll concur with that. There is a pattern, you just don't know it until you do your analysis. So let's take DILR for example. Yeah, there would be a certain topic that you have gotten in touch with. So for me, that was arrangements and classification. I think that since that comes early up in your DLR prep, so it is quite possible that you will get in good touch with it. However, other topics maybe you are not as strong with, and on the mock day, these were the only topics which came up in your DILR sets. So you were stuck in a rock and hard place. Which set do you completely solve? Do I solve sets partially? All of these realizations will not happen unless and until you do not analyze your mocks. Let's take another section. Let's take QA. It is possible that you're good with arithmetic, algebra. You may be lagging behind in geometry, modern numbers, and numbers basically. Modern numbers, I would say PNC and probability. That would be the topics. So, unless and until you look at your mocks, the kind of questions that you are facing errors in, it won't be possible for you to rectify them. So don't stop taking mocks. Not like I'll not give a mock this week because it is affecting my confidence. Do take mocks, take honest feedback from them and yourself, and then proceed to correct their mistakes.
Got it. So now let's come to your weak sections, or rather the sections which were weak previously for you. So how did you like basically improve them in your second attempt? So Soham, you can tell how you improved your VRC.
Okay, so as Sarthak pointed out that he's an avid reader and that's why his VRC is good or whatever. People always say that you should read a lot for improving your VRC, and I did not take that advice during my first attempt. I was like, we'll see what happens. So once I got a setback in my first attempt, I scored just 66 percentile in VRC. So after that, in my second year, like between CAT 2020 and CAT 2021, I myself wrote a book, and while writing the book during that process, I think my vocabulary improved a lot. So yeah, that was, I mean, I did not have to specifically work on the VRC section or any specific type of questions, but I suddenly felt a difference while writing the mock test, that I'm doing better than last time. So I guess my vocabulary in general improved during that period. So that's how I
So
overcame VRC.
can you tell a bit more about the book? What was it about?
Okay, so the book, it's titled Ajinkya Bharat, and it is based on the India-Australia cricket series that happened in 2020, where India overcame a lot of difficulties to win the series, and it was a very interesting series. So, and I've always been a cricket fan, so and I had a lot of free time, so I had to write about it. And yeah, I released the book in June on Kindle, June 2021. So yeah.
Okay, that's great. Sarthak, can you tell about your DIR strategy?
And yeah. First of all, writing a book to rectify your VRC mistakes, well, kudos, man. Great going. I wish I could say the same about my DLR strategies. So I played a very defensive game with DILR. I knew that it could. So I knew that I get flustered when I see a set that I'm not comfortable with. I don't know what is the case with a lot of aspirants, but for me, this was an Achilles heel. So familiarizing myself with as many sets as possible became my mantra, and not in terms of covering a book or a syllabus, but just to give mocks. You give a mock, and then you spend. I used to spend about 2 hours on a 40-minute section after I've given my mock to resolve the each and every set. Look how I can get faster with it. It paid off in my mocks, but surprisingly, it did not pay off on D Day, and I actually got a 90 percentile in DILR on in my actual CAT 2021. Close shave, but yeah, I still made it to FMS. So yeah, at least I'm proud of the fact that I tried to rectify it and got over the line however I could.
Got it. We have an audience question. Sakshi is asking suggestions for GDPI, especially for the ones who have gap years.
So how you
Uh,
want to take this? All right, I'll take it. Cool, no problem. So GDPI gap years. Well, I'll put this out very plainly. So having I'm not saying any type of shortcomings in a profile should affect you, because I myself had 4.5 years in my engineering. I missed a semester in my engineering for whatever reason, and it came up in my PIs more often than not. So my first thing would be, you should be honest with yourself and then consequently with the panelists about how it happened, what lesson you've learned from it, and how we will move forward from it if you haven't already. So for the first thing is to face yourself that I made these mistakes. Now this is the corrective action I should take or I have already taken. I think that shows the strength of character to your panelists as well. That in spite of all this, you are sitting here giving a fabulous interview to them. So this won't be the first question that is asked to you. Most panelists are very, very kind to you, and they won't jump right into the meat of it. So try to present a very good picture of yourself before this question crops up, and then that will easily substantiate the kind of progress you've made. So I would say don't worry about it. Focus on your CAT prep. These things will come later. So don't let that affect your CAT score right now. Okay.
right. So, you want to say something on this?
Yeah, actually, can you repeat the question? There was some issue with the
The question was basically how to tackle gap years during interviews.
gap years. Okay. First of all, whoever asked this question is a very smart guy and a great listener. He knows both of us had gap years. Okay, so yeah, how to tackle gap years? First of all, the question doesn't usually come up. There are very few interviews when it will actually come up, but you can justify it if you have done anything specific in that year. Like I always used to mention about the book, and even if you don't have anything to justify it, sometimes I guess that's what Sarthak said, right? It's just better to accept that you're working on yourself for the whole year. It's just fine. It's fine. Like they won't torture you for that. It's okay.
Right. So, because you both talked about giving mocks in the previous answer, so was there a time when you experienced a slump in your mock scores, or you got demotivated by it? Anything of that sort?
I mean, towards the start of mock test, I remember my first mock test, I scored 81 percentile something, and I was like, "What is this? Like, I'm definitely not that underprepared. There's something wrong that I'm doing." So the slump didn't come in the middle. It was generally at the start. Once you get the hang of it, it's fine. But then again, yeah, there are a couple of mocks when you suddenly score low, and then you start questioning yourself. But that's the time when you just need to again analyze your own mistakes and give another mock. You'll mostly score better again. So it's fine. Like slumps are not that common, and like you will get back on the track once you, because again it's all about analyzing the mistakes. As Sarthak said that he used to resolve that 40-minute section for 2 hours. So sometimes it happens that you need to spend more time in analysis than the actual paper. That is how you get better. So Sarthak.
Yeah. So I would say like if you know the sine function, how it goes up and down all the time with some waves in between. And there were more downs than ups, I would be very honest with that. And mostly my overall mock score used to be consisted around 95, 96 percentile with a few 99 sprinkled in between. All the time, one particular section would decide कि हाँ चलो आज इसके score के साथ थोड़ा सा खेलते हैं. It used to be VARC at times as well, that I came across a particularly hard para-jumble set and could not tackle a single question, made a few mistakes in my RCs as well, and then that time my whole VRC score. Happened with QA a lot. Did not like that started ending towards the end of my prep, and DILR was a hit or miss. So you can see that I got a 90 percentile finally in my CAT. There have been 99 percentiles. There was once a 100 percentile in DILR as well. So it has been all over the place. So with these kind of variations coming in your scores, how do you stay calm, keep positive? The truth is, absolute truth is, for a moment you stop thinking about it. That if I really can't think what has happened with the mock, I can't comprehend it, I would turn my mind off for that day, go to sleep, look at it with a fresh pair of eyes on the next day, give my 6 hours to my mock analysis again. That should not be skipped. Don't skip your analysis. If you want to push it off for 1 day or 2 days, that's fine. But you have to do it before you attempt your next mock, because you otherwise you won't be understanding what went wrong with it, and that will then start affecting each and every single mock that you take in the future.
Right. Let's come to your section-wise mock analysis strategies. So, how did you basically go on analyzing the sections? Like, did you solve the paper, or did you just take up the questions which you did wrong? So, how did you go about it?
So my analysis strategy was pretty straightforward. I just used to look at the questions which I did. So in every mock test there is that option of marking the question for later. So that thing. So I used to, so if there is some question whose answer I just guessed randomly, I used to mark it. I'm talking about quants. So once the results are out for quants, I used to check only those questions which I had guessed, so that I can get the correct method of that, and the questions which I got wrong. So that was the only analysis I did for quants. Pretty much the same for DILR. Sometimes I used to solve the sets again. Like there are some sets, you just rush to the answer just for the sake of time rather than properly solving them step by step. So those sets I used to repeat. And yeah, again, if the answer is correct and if I've solved it properly in the exam, then I did not check it again. With VARC, I didn't analyze the paper immediately. Like I used to require one whole day that today I will only analyze VARC, because I knew that was my weak section. So rather than analyzing it after every mock, I used to dedicate a proper day to it. Quants and DIR I used to analyze immediately after the test. Sarthak?
Yeah, same. That quants is the easiest to analyze immediately after your mock for two reasons. If you're doing your analysis just after your mock has ended, quant was the last section that you attempted. It's fresh in your mind. What was your mindset while solving a particular question? So I would say use that to your advantage. You will immediately find in your rough notes that what part of the page you were solving this question. If you went wrong, what was the reason, and you will immediately note it down. Every good mock that I've given has also had this component where it shows what kind of time you took to solve the question and what kind of time did plus 90 plus percentile take to solve that particular question. So that became my guideline that, okay, I'm taking too much time compared to others to solve this particular question. So that helped me. And coming to the other sections, for VARC, my analysis was more geared towards verbal ability, because para jumbles need good analysis if you want to get strong in them. To understand the flow of a passage with such ambiguous arrangements, like you could think it is 1 4 3 2, it will turn out to be 1 3 4 2. 1 and 2 are still at the end, and you took a leap of faith with 1 4 3 2, right? So you need to understand why you went wrong and how you need to think in the future. uh, Para summaries and odd sentences, I would say just look at the answer. And I think one thing that I would like to tell everybody for VARC analysis is, do not get opinionated about your side of the argument that I thought this option was correct, so it is correct. No, you are wrong. The solution is right. More often than not, there will be only one or two instances when a paper setter has made a mistake, but mostly you are wrong. The solution is right. Okay. and this will happen with you in your initial mocks, but later you will come to the same realization as I did. So be prepared for that. DILR, as I said, that I used to give a lot of time to resolving, and not just the questions that I solved incorrectly each and every set, because time reducing the kind of time I took to solve each and every set was what I looked at. So yeah, that was my strategy.
Great. Sarthak, you wanted to share your Excel file showing how you analyze the mocks, right? You
All
can do
right,
that.
yeah. Give me a few seconds. I'll just start sharing that screen. Uh, yeah. Just tell me when the screen is visible to the participants and you.
Yeah, it's visible.
All right. So let's look at this. So this is a spreadsheet that I created for myself starting the first or second week of September, if I remember correctly. This is not the actual sheet. I won't share that because for reasons that I'll explain later. This is a sample that I've prepared for everyone to use if they want to. So there's an empty template that I've saved here as well that you can use to analyze your own mocks, specifically career launcher mocks, because those are the mocks that I primarily do. I did not do this for my IMS mocks. Those are the only two test series I attempted. So let's get back to it. So what is the data that we're looking at here? The topic. So let's stick with VRC for now. So the topic from which this VRC question was picked up. What is my score in this question? How many people attempted this question? What was their accuracy? So out of the 80% who attempted that question, only around 40% got it right. What time I took, what time did the 90 plus percentiles took? All of this data from C to H was given to me by my analysis page on Career Launcher. I did not have to do a single thing to record this on my own or do anything in specific. Okay. After that, these are three columns that I created for myself. Did I save time or did I lose time? If I saved time, how much time did I save? If I lost time, how much time did I lose? And the status of the question. Status means that is everything okay with whatever happened in the question? If not, then you need to go to your comments and write what exactly went wrong with your question. So this is a tool. Now, how to effectively use it? First of all, filter the section in which you were working on. So let's say VARC. Then in VARC, all the topics that you need to look at. I would first look at my RC questions. So RC can have fact-based questions, inference-based questions, all these. All right. So I would first look at my inference-based questions because those are the ones that are most important in an RC passage. Okay. And I would look at my performance in them. Look at these. I would then filter out which questions did I solve correctly because those will be marked by 3. And what was the kind of layout of these questions. So look at this. All of these questions which I got correct were either easy, most of them seem easy or medium to easy. Only 2 of them seem slightly tough. All right. And then I would look at the time that I took to solve these. Each and every of these questions which I solved correctly, I saved time, right? And I would then write my notes about this. So why did I save time? It was a psychology passage. So psychology is one of my favorite topics in VARC. It was easy for me to comprehend, which is why I believed I saved time. All right. Now I would then look at the questions which I got wrong in inference based only. There's only 2 of them that I got wrong. So looking at this question, I would immediately forgive myself. Only 34% attempted this question, 43% got it right. So look at my notes accordingly. I took time as well and I wasted 56 seconds in the paper. Why? And based on the question that was, I obviously can't share that question right now, it's from a mock. But whatever that passage was, I used to say that what is the reason behind choosing the wrong option? I clearly noted that it was my personal bias on reading. I did not omit that, but that is very important to remove when you're giving your mock, especially a VRC mock. All right. this is a question that I would immediately blame myself, because if 71% are attempting and nearly 60% people are getting it right, what is the reason I got this wrong? Look at it. I immediately wrote that I didn't read the last line properly. So this is very important for VARC because, as I said, VARC is the first section you attempt. When you're analyzing your mock, it will not stay in your head what exactly went wrong with your mock. So when I was looking at the passage with which things went wrong and I would read it again, I would immediately note the kind of emotional response I would have to that question, and note that if that is the reason I would get this question wrong, right? So this is a tool that helped me to analyze each and every section. So VARC is done. Let's go to DILR. I'm not showing the other like parajumbles and everything because of like we have a lack of time. So I would then go to my DILR. Select everything. Yeah. Look at this. So in DILR, I do not really need to filter things because questions of a set stay together. All right. The major component of analysis in DILR is the time you took, simply. So I save time in understanding the question, but I lost time in solving them. So given that people gave 5 minutes to reading this particular section, maybe I should have taken a little more time to understand the layout of the entire problem in DILR. I did not do that, which is why you can see clearly. Other people took roughly 1.5 minutes or so to solve their questions. Me, on the other hand, took 3.5 minutes, 2.5 minutes. I lost time because I did not invest my time in understanding the problem in the beginning itself. And for a reasonably tough problem set. So look at this. If only 21% people are are accurate in this question, I should have given more time to reading it properly before attempting it, right? Which is why in my TETA, this was in one of my TETA questions, I got it wrong. And I made a note of the same. I made a note of everything that happened with this particular set. If I made so, the last note would be of the time that I took. If I'm taking 10.5 minutes for one DILR set, there is something wrong. Roughly, you should take 7 to 8 minutes if you're really good with that set. Later, for different sets, so look at this. Let's look at this set, 31 to 34. Mostly blues and greens, which means that this is an easy set to solve, which is reflected in my marks as well. It's reflected in my time as well. I've saved time on each of these questions. So there's not much wrong here. So I still made notes of the same. All right. Only two cells with notes, but I still did it because, as I said, with DILR, it took time with each and every question that used to come up. This analysis is really important because of the last set. I remember this mock, which is why I'm sharing it with you. This was a 6 question set. Yeah, look at this. This was a 6 question set. And in this particular last set, look at the attempts percentage 22, 25, 23, 14, 20. Not a lot of people got to attempt this set. And I remember that it was only calculation heavy. It was not a very, like, you did not need to make leaps of logic in this. You did not need to have a very good DILR, like, you did not have very good DILR strengths. You needed to have good calculation speed. So why was I able to attempt it? Because I gave a lot of time to this last set. Over how much time is it? 18 minutes to a single set. So every other rest of the sets I solved in 22 minutes, and out of my 40 minutes, I had 18 to devote to this last set. It was that calculation heavy, but it gave me good returns. Each and every single question came out right. And the only reason I was able to do so was because of the time saved on the previous questions. So that is why I said that analyzing the kind of time you take with your DLR sets becomes very important. I think Soham will add to this more when he describes the strategies as well. Coming to QA, here I would say that you should filter out topics. So let's say that you need to check how you're doing in arithmetic. Immediately you go to your filters, remove circles, factorials, functions, linear equations, log, maximum, minimum, mensuration. Mixtures and aggregations can stay, percentages can stay, profit and loss can stay. Let me remove each and every topic which is not connected to arithmetic. So triangles. Yeah. So these are the only questions in this particular mock that came from arithmetic. As you can see, only 4 right and either unattempted or a theta mistake, right? Yeah, I've written here. 4 questions I missed. I remember that I took a lot of time with this QA mock. I was solving very slowly. So earlier I had written here why I missed these questions. So time wasted, time wasted. There were a lot of questions that I marked as a time waste. So later on, I went to these questions and solved them again, and realized that I could have solved them easily. Why did I not? Because I took a lot of time. And this was for arithmetic. I can do the same for algebra. I can do the same for geometry. I can track what is going on with each and every topic of QA for me, and then take corrective action. So I'll stop sharing my screen because I want to tell you more about how I used it while doing my question solving for my mocks. So yeah, stop screen sharing. So what I used to do is, let's go to QA. Immediately after I saw the kind of time that I took with each and every QA section, those were the questions that I focused on first. The ones that went wrong and the ones that took a lot of time, they became my primary priority. That okay, सबसे पहले इनको देखना. Later I went to the questions where I solved them wrongly, solved them correctly, but took a lot of time. And then in the end, the unattempted ones, because they were, I don't know anything about them right now. I may not even have seen them. A similar thing for DILR and a similar thing for VARC. This is how you can save time for analyzing your mock. I won't say that this is something which is necessary. Like, using Excel is not necessary for analyzing your mocks. Let me make that very clear. This was something that I did for 2 reasons. First of all, मेरे को Excel अच्छा लगता था and I used it for my own convenience. I found structure in it. There are n number of ways you can give structure to your mock analysis. I'm sure of that. Most people do not use Excel to analyze their mocks. This is just something that you can you're creating a sort of game to analyze your mocks, right? Otherwise, this is something which becomes a very monotonous activity. It used to be for me before I started doing this, but after I gave my mock, I used to actually eagerly await for this. कि हाँ चलो अब मेरे को data अपने Excel में डालने को मिलेगा. I would get to play with it. I would get to understand what is going on. So I would not say that एकदम Excel ही use करना and you need to be good with it before you start analyzing your mocks. No. Even a pen and piece of paper can do it for you. I used to know this guy who used to draw doodles in his mock diary कि हाँ इस question में कुछ खराब किया है तो वहाँ पे he'll make a very funny doodle of him making a mistake. I won't say what he used to draw, that is slightly explicit. But there are so many ways in which you can make your mock analysis fun, because end में this is something that will take you 4 or 5 hours, right? 2 घंटे के mock के बाद. Try to make it fun for yourself, because that is the only way you can do well in tests. अगर मजे नहीं आएंगे ना तो कुछ भी आसानी से नहीं होने वाला. That is what all I say.
Right. Upanch is saying, can I have this sheet template? Yeah, sure. We'll put this in the description so you can have it and like use it for your own analysis. And
Although I would advise that it is always better to make your own template than following someone's template.
Yeah. This is just there for guidance. That I won't say that use this template. I've kept a sample, which is why I've kept a sample. It's that sample is there for you to understand how I analyzed one particular mock. I did not share all 16, 17 mocks that I analyzed using this method, right? So I would say advise you to make your own template, because you know your template best, right? I would have to explain each and every step to you for you to use my template. That's not.
And as Sarthak said that you should make this activity fun in itself. So once you figure out what kind of template do you need for your own analysis, it will become fun for you. So it's better to figure out your own template.
sure. We have a question in the chat. It says, I am good at RC but can't get PJs correct. So how to do well in PJs?
Yes, your
So you
question,
can
Sarthak.
take it. Yeah, I know it's my question, but
Your question.
chalo, I'll give it a go
Go
first.
ahead.
Okay. All right. So para-jumbles. A small thing. This is from. Let's walk backwards. On CAT day, I got 14 out of my 16 questions right in RC, 8 out of 8 correct in VA. Before that, it had never happened. I have never gotten more than 4 questions correct in my VAs. I have gotten 16 out of 16 correct in VARC, but never more than 4 correct in my verbal ability. On that day, I may have figured out something which I now don't know कि कैसे करते हैं, but I'll still try to formalize it for you so that you can work on it. I would say that first thing is for para jumbles, as I said, to know the flow of what thing comes next. Is it 1432 or 1342? बहुत फंसते हैं इसमें लोग. How do you tackle that? There's no other way than to solve sectional tests, I would say. And sectional test ले लो, topic test ले लो for para jumbles, because it's not, इसमें ये नहीं कि practice makes perfect. This is not QA or a DILR where practice will help you. You will get a sense of it. You will hope that that sense helps you on when you give CAT. It worked for me. So it's not necessary to get 8 out of 8 in para jumbles. And I know that para jumbles are mostly like 2 or 3 questions. Do not think of them as questions which will make or break your verbal ability set. I would say that you need to give them time. And how do you create time to give to your para jumbles? Get better at solving your RCs. RCs are 16 questions which people take 32 minutes to do. It is possible to reduce that to 27, 26, 25 minutes if you get good at RC reading. So practicing
So
para
just a second,
jumbles,
while we are on it,
yeah,
I'll just add one point. So as you said that you need to create time for your parajumbles. So I'll just suggest what I used to do. I used to solve a couple of RCs first, in the first 20 minutes, because as Sarthak is saying that you need to get better at RCs. That is something I never did. I was always a bit slow in RCs, but I always made sure that I got enough time for VA. As he said that you have to create time for VA. So for me, around the 20-minute mark was when I used to start VA, so that I can get enough time for VA, I can give it full justice, and only then I can move to my next RC. So regarding that creating time for RC, this is what I would like to add. Continue, Sarthak.
that's absolutely correct. So I'm sure that most people get choosy with their RC sets as well, that they will choose one particular RC to not attempt. This what Soham said is a perfect strategy for that. That you choose 3 RCs to completely solve, and then after 2 RCs, when 20 minutes have passed, or even earlier than that, people also do this that they solve VA first, because those are the smaller questions. Those are not something which you need to exclusively give time to. You can just कि एक RC passage कर लिया, then you go for para summaries. एक RC passage कर लिया, then you go for your odd sentence paragraphs. I would say that it depends on you. I would say that try it out in your mocks. You will figure out through mocks itself that what is working for you. I was very traditional with it. After I'm done with my RCs, I will then jump to my VA, because I used to stay in that frame of mind. This is the frame of mind that I will have while solving RCs. This is the frame of mind that I will have while solving my verbal ability. This is not necessary. This is not mandatory for everyone. Try out everything in your mocks, which is why giving mocks is so important. You will try n number of things in your mocks, and so that before you give CAT, you know what works for you.
Great. Uh, Ishita has a question for you, Soham. It says, how did writing a book help you in VRC? Can you share some of your learnings that we can apply in the next 2.5 months?
Okay, so how writing a book helped me. So when you write a book, towards the end, there is a phase when you have to, proofread your own book. So what happens is when you're proofreading, you think from a reader's perspective that what a reader would interpret out of this sentence. So you need to be absolutely spot on, because when you're writing, you're thought of something else, and you need to make sure that a reader understands exactly what you are conveying. And now cut to RC. Isn't that what RC all about? The main issue of RC is that you get confused between the options, because you cannot interpret exactly what the passage says. So what happened is when I proofread my own book, I realized the difference between a specific structure of sentence and a desired structure of sentence. And that is exactly what helped me in VRC in differentiating between the two options. that I got to know what exactly that option means and how it is different from the other option and why this is the correct answer. So I guess that is how writing a book helped me in VRC.
That's a very good first principle approach. He got into the shoes of the writers, or so there are two people who are involved in making your RC, right? There is the writer of the passage, then there's the question setter. So I don't know how many people know this, that the question setters also play around with the words that are given in the passage, right? So you can call the question setter the post editor of that passage. What kind of mindset did he have when he was giving you this passage? And then the question which you're going through, it could be an inference question, a fact based question, or a main idea question. What mindset did he have when he's asking you this question? So step into their shoes. I would say that you can play around with this, that form a group. I'm sure that many people form groups on Discord and Telegram for their cat prep. Take a passage from a good source, maybe like Aeon or HBR, any source that you can read through. Good reading material. Create a 4 question RC set for your friends. Exchange it among yourselves. I used to do it with a few friends of mine, and matlab, did not do it a lot more, but it helped. You have to step into the mind of the question setter. Soham stepped into the mind of the writer itself. So that is how you do it.
Great. We have a question from Farah. She's asking, besides IMS, which mock series should we take? Any mock series suggestions?
All right. So,
So the
yeah, Soham,
mocks
go
that
ahead.
mocks that I used in my first year, I went for IMS and time both. And in the second year, because there was a bit of time crunch, I started a bit late, so I could only go for IMS. Sarthak?
Yeah. So, everybody and me will tell you about 3 test series, which is CL, IMS, and time. All three of them have their own strengths and weaknesses. You can take any one of them. I would ideally say that take two of them, because it offers you a wider type of question pool because it is set by different people. So for every 2 CL mocks that I used to solve, I used to take one IMS mock. The same is the case with a lot of people with taking IMS or time, IMS or CL, or CL and time. Do not solve too many series. Even apart from this, you can go with like any other series, but I would say that keep at least one of them in your bag, because these are the most general standardized type of mocks that CAT will then prepare you for.
Okay. Uh, Now we have a question from Rohan. He's asking to give some tips for non-engineers, especially for quants.
The engineer here. So, non-engineers. See, I particularly don't think that quants is a very difficult subject. Like, most of the syllabus that is covered in quants is something we have learned till 10th, I guess, because there is no calculus and all of that stuff. So yeah, but I would suggest just go through the syllabus topic wise. Again, once you start analyzing your mistakes, you will find out that there are some common topics in which you are making mistakes. Now, like ratio and proportion and all that stuff that you have done anyway before 10th, so that should not be an issue. So yeah, I would just say go through the syllabus and find out where you are making mistakes. Like if you think that you are making mistakes in something that you have not covered before 10th, then you can specifically study those topics. Just take help from your engineer friends if you really think that not being an engineer is making a difference. But I don't think that is a barrier. If it is, then just ask your engineer friends. Make study groups, prepare with them. Maybe that will help. Different perspectives. Sarthak?
Yeah, so quant. Uh, I would say that quant is purely practice based. It is the most, so with other sections, it's like you do a certain amount of work, it may not pay off immediately. But for me, quant was fairly directly proportional. I've solved these many questions, and when I make attempts in my mock, it works. Not immediately, but yeah, with some time. So I actually don't differentiate between quants when it comes to engineers and non-engineers, because even as an engineer myself, I had to give time to my quants to get them to a certain level. And I would say that The key is to focus on the three main topics in quant, which is arithmetic, algebra, and geometry. Out of the 22 questions that come in quant, these three make up the ones which you can easily get to grips with if you are even preparing for 2 or 3 months. Numbers and modern maths, I would say that if you get the time to prepare them, please do, because that increases your chances of choosing your questions when you're giving your cat. But if you really need to get good with quant quickly, focus on arithmetic first, because that is where everything starts in quant. Your mental calculation, because that is the bedrock of everything you through which you save time in quants. Get good with your arithmetic, which will automatically percolate into everything which goes on in your QA, algebra, geometry, whatever. All right. Coming to the tricks that save time for you in quant, there are free sessions that are held by a lot of people. So CL has this 99% raised to 99 percentile series. I'm sure other people also have similar content. Go through them, but more importantly, try to create tricks for yourself. And the only way to do that is to practice.
Right. Now we have a question from Abhi. He's asking, what is the parameters on which we should decide which LRDI set to attempt first?
Soham, please.
Uh, okay, so the parameters again. So once you know what type of questions are there, you know which is your strong point and which is not your strong point. Right? Like now I don't remember what all categories used to be, but like circular arrangements and there are specific. You know, you just look at the question. You generally find out there is some kind of table in it, and you're like, okay, see, you're either better at LR or DI. Some people find that DI is easier because the table is right there, data is right there, I don't need to create my own data, and I can just analyze it. So you just look at the question, do you like DI, do you like LR, and go accordingly. Some people find DI very easy because for LR you need to create your own data. So I would suggest that start with DI, because it is like guaranteed data. In logical reasoning, you can get stuck at a point. If you don't figure out the question, you get stuck at a point, and after 5 minutes, you are like, I've invested so much time in the question already, then maybe I should go through with it. So so then generally you waste time on such questions. So it is better to start with DI, because and allot yourself time that I will give 8 or 9 minutes on DI. If I don't figure out all the 4 questions, I'll move on to the next set. That is something you cannot do with LR, because you need to figure out the entire question and then you can answer those 4 questions. So yeah, I would say go for DI first, then go for LR.
Okay.
Sarthak.
Okay, we'll take the next.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, to go with set selection, Soham correctly said that with DI it is more of that you can let go of the set. But with LR the thing is you keep solving it, and as you go through each and every question, there is a higher chance of you cracking it. And this is where the fear of commitment comes in, that I have given so much time to this set. I'm sure one more minute will crack it. Later I think Soham as well realized that beyond a certain point of time, you have to move on. I know it sounds like giving relationship advice, but this is true here as well. That beyond maybe like चलो 10 minutes ले लेते हैं if you really have to, but उससे ज़्यादा लग रहा है तो don't do it, man. It will just mess up every other set or relationship, as the metaphor is still continuing. Yeah.
Okay. We have a question from an account called JK. They're asking what kept you motivated till the D-Day.
First of all, I did not study at all or give any mock the day before the exam or the Saturday before the exam. My last mock was on Friday. On Saturday, I was just chilling. I was watching a cricket match on TV. I know, entire day, India New Zealand test. And yeah, on D Day, I listened to some songs in the morning, and yeah, that is what kept me motivated. That that everything around me is normal, so I don't need to take stress of anything. It's about you just know what your happy place is, right? Everyone has to figure it out for themselves. Just stay in your happy place. That is how you will stay motivated. Don't take stress about anything. And I'm pretty sure the family members and friends are always supportive in such times. So just talk to them. we'll feel nice. Go to exam in a good mood.
Great. Sarthak?
Yeah, so wow, my November was very, very random, if I remember. So the last mock that I gave was on 14th. I stopped giving mocks 2 weeks before that. After that, for 1 week, I gave sectional test. On 21st, from 21st to 20th, I did not do anything. God's honest truth. I'll tell you why. So, starting in November, I actually went for a trip with my family to my relatives in Lucknow. Had some good time there. After coming back, as I said that after 14th I did not give a mock. After 21st I did not do anything prep related, because starting 21st I was actually interviewing for a job. That happened for that entire week. And so I'm basically saying that I was able to do it because I was confident in my prep, and I did not want to go into the cat day with a lot of weight on my mind that ये set अभी भी नहीं हो रहा, ये LR अभी भी नहीं हो रहा. I just let it go. I focused on whatever else was important on my work, including that interview as well. And I think that kind of freedom that I gave myself till the last day is what helped me do as well as I did on cat.
Right. We have a question from Chinmay. He's asking, how should I make sure that I'm in the right phase of CAT prep? Or does my mock scores decide my chance of cracking CAT? So basically, how to introspect the CAT prep apart from the mock scores?
Okay, right phase of cat prep. Hmm, this is a tricky one. See, rather than, I mean, what's important is you are just doing better than your previous mock. I guess that is how you know you are in the right phase, right? And number of scores, number of questions. See, there like in all the platforms, IMS time, they give a percentile score, right? So, like, this is too early to tell this maybe, but your percentile in your actual exam will always be better than the mocks. So, if the score that the percentile that you are getting in mocks makes you happy, then you are in the right place because your final percentile will be better than that. Sarthak?
Yeah. So what Soham said was like if you compare your each and every mock, you'll be relatively happy. Then comes the time when you hear about some friend like topping the mock to that particular mock, and then relative happiness when it comes to other people. You always know you're going to lose because there will be someone better than you. How to tackle that? First of all, realize that you have improved. If you haven't improved, then just do your analysis. It is not about being happy or sad, it is about being focused. There will be times when you're happy, there will be times you're sad, but the one thing that should stay constant is your consistent commitment to, yeah, that I will give this exam, I will give it nicely to the best of my ability. I think that kind of determination when you have is when you realize that, I'm doing well. That determination should make you happy. I don't know why it doesn't happen for everyone. It didn't happen for me as well. So I've seen people who were actually happy with their prep when they came to give cat. I know that. I wasn't. It still happened that I got a good percentile, and the only reason was that I was confident in my prep, and I knew that when I got determined is when I know कि हाँ मैं एक serious cat aspirant हूँ. When that happens for you, for my sake, give yourself a pat on the shoulder. Go out for a treat with your friends or something. Celebrate that day. Don't tell them why you're celebrating it, but do that.
Okay. So now, just the last question for you both: that how did you both revise the concepts in the last few months? Like, apart from giving mocks, like, did you go through the concepts to basically brush up all of them?
So again, as I told you, my entire CAT prep was based around mocks. So my revision was also from the solutions of the mock tests. I did not go concept wise as such, but I just revisited my mistakes. I tried to figure out if I have done better in the next mocks in that particular section, and I guess that was it. That was my revision. Nothing else.
Okay. So, I'll give a similar advice. The only difference between me and Soham in this regard is that I think I think mid September, Career Launchers QA 1000 course came out. It's their self-pep course. it roughly takes 2 or 3 hours to go through a particular section of the paper. So arithmetic, 2 hours of videos, and with compared with a very small set of questions. So that worked for me in revision. That going through this course, it brushed up my concepts, it brushed up the kind of tricks that I could build for myself. It's not necessary to do it, but that is how I found structure in my QA prep. Before that, it was mostly up to me that what I'm doing with it. But having a course, I guess, made me more serious about it, which helped me improve my QA scores. I did not do the same thing for DILR. Mostly relied on my mocks. VARC also very same. I was a VARC 1000 student with Career Launcher, but I did not depend as much on the course as I did with QA during my final leg of prep. Yeah.
Okay, I would take this opportunity to tell about the free resources available on InsideIIM. You can just visit InsideIIM.com and you'll get like formula sheets, daily sectional doses, which you can access for free. And we will put the link in the chat and description, or you can just visit InsideIIM.com. So I think we've come to the end of it. Thank you guys for joining us. Thanks to our audience for joining us, and hope this session was helpful in resolving a lot of your queries. And we will meet again in the next webinar. So subscribe to the channel and stay updated. Goodbye and all the best.
Bye everyone. All the best.
All the best, guys.